In an essay called The Poet, we can see Emerson's vision of what the transcendentalist poet would be, and we can also see the ways that connects to exactly what Whitman is trying to do. In some moments, Whitman gave Emerson lots of credit for inspiring him. At other moments, he distanced himself. The same was true the other way around. Emerson at times would praise Whitman and at other times distance himself. They had a very ambivalent relationship. But you can see in this language here so much of what Whitman is trying to do in the poem you just read, Song of Myself, which, by the way, in two of the earliest editions was called Walt Whitman. So a few of the highlights here that jump out at us as exactly the kind of things that Whitman is going out of his way to do, this idea of sufficient plainness, sufficient profoundness, address ourselves to life, nor dare we chant our own times. The whole idea that so interests Whitman in poetry as music, in poetry as chant, is something he encountered, among other places, in Emerson's seminal essay. This is another interesting phrase. The timely man, the new religion, the reconciler who all things await. As we've identified before, Whitman is the poet of and, the poet who tries to break down binaries and instead of seeing difference as division, sees in difference universality, a sharing in a transcendental universal spirit. Here we get in particular the idea of turning the eye to America. We have yet no genius in America with tyrannous eye, which knew the value of our incomparable materials. I'm sorry that it keeps showing that annoying little icon. It wants me to do something with the text, and I don't want to do anything with it. But I think that language is really interesting there. We have yet no genius in America, which knew the value of our incomparable materials and saw in the barbarism and materialism of the times another carnival of the same gods whose picture he so much admires, and he goes on to other writers. But the idea that the American experience has something unique to offer the poetic vision or voice sounds so much as exactly what Whitman is trying to do. Let's take a look at this great line. Our log rolling, our stumps, their politics, our fisheries, our Negroes and Indians, our boats and our repudiations, the wrath of rogues and the pusillanimity of honest men, the northern trade, the southern planting, the western clearing, Oregon, Texas are yet unsung. So this idea of poetry to be written of this new emerging tumultuous 19th century America, the 19th century America that hopefully you read about in that timeline, which is the 19th century America that Whitman and Emerson live through and observe and reflect on and try to make sense of. Yet America is a poem in our eyes. Its ample geography dazzles the imagination, and it will not wait long for meters. So this calling forth for not only a poet of transcendentalist vision in terms of seeing truth and unity and diversity, but also a poet invested in describing America as it is, as it grows, as it stretches, as it explodes. So these ideas predate Song of Myself. And we know that Whitman read this essay and admired Emerson. So it's hard not to see the poetry of Whitman in some way as a very self-conscious attempt to respond to Emerson and Emerson's idea of poetic vision.